Welcome, everybody back to the Box Hero Sports Show. It's been a long while. Um, I missed doing this. It's time to get straight into it. Um, what an NFL Sunday we just had. Let's start with last night's game. The Chiefs and the New York Jets. New York Jets fought hard. We all know that it's an amazing defense that team has. Uh, and I think, my boys, we didn't play particularly well. I think Patrick Mahomes probably had one of his worst games since he's been the chief starter. Didn't do good at all from the pocket. Completion percentage wasn't good. QBR wasn't good. 2 interceptions. Almost had three. Um, I think we have a problem in Kansas City. I think we have a receiver problem in Kansas City. Um, you know, Last year, I guess it didn't really matter. I guess teams caught on to the scheme that Andy Reid is trying to run with the receivers that we have. But we have nobody can get separation on the receiving core. Travis Kelsey's being doubled, and then when Travis Kelsey's being doubled, there's no receiver, no other receiver can just get open. So I mean, this season is weird for the Chiefs. Defense is playing really good, and then the offense is playing really bad. And I don't think the offense is. It's not the offense is playing bad. It's just that we're used to seeing Pat do things that Pat do, like the sidearms and the flips and the deep balls. And I think the Chiefs are scoring 7 points less every game now to start the season, which is alarming in a way. Run game looks good. Pacheco looks great. 100 plus yards on the ground yesterday. But receiving core just can't get open. Kadarius Toney, MVS, Sky Moore, Justin Watson. Rasheed Rice looks okay. Rasheed Rice looks good. He's still a rookie. He's going to get better. I would like to see Justin Ross out there a little bit more. But we don't have nobody to take the heat off of Travis Kelsey, and everybody knows that's the main focus of the Chiefs' offense is get the ball to Travis Kelsey in space and let him do what he do. So Chiefs desperately need that number one receiver. They need somebody like a Mike Evans or Devontae Adams or Jay Jettas or somebody. T. Higgins maybe. Somebody that can take the top off. Somebody that can go up and make the big plays. Somebody that can, you know, get what they can be that guy that Patrick Mahomes can lean on when Travis Kelsey is not available during the play. Because I don't think Patrick Mahomes can really lean on anybody else. I mean, you look at all the top QBs in the league. They all have a number one receiver. You look at Josh Allen. He has Stephon Diggs. Joe Burrow has basically three of them if you want to count Tyler Boyd with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. You look at who else is a top quarterback. You look at freaking Jalen Hurts with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Jared Goff got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Lamar Jackson had Odell until he got hurt. But I mean, I'll take Odell over any of those guys that's in Kansas City right now. So I mean, Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. So it's a bit of a concerning thing in Kansas City right now. But we have Patrick Mahomes, and as long as I feel like I keep saying this because I feel like as long as we have Patrick Mahomes, I feel like the Patriots. I feel like I'm a Patriots fan because it's like no matter what you have, you still have Tom Brady. No matter what we have, you still have Patrick Mahomes. So man, but I'm impressed by Zach Wilson. I'm really impressed by Zach Wilson. He came out and balled. First couple of possessions looked a little shaky. I think that safety call really kind of helped the momentum swing. Um, you know, the and a lot of people was complaining about the officiating last night, which I don't think is that big of a deal because If you look around the league, the officiating has been horrible. So, but I mean, they did get away with two calls. Um, the safety that wasn't a safety. He held his face mask in the field of play. That shouldn't have been a safety. And then the horse collar that wasn't really a horse collar because he grabbed him right here. That's not a horse collar. So I mean, both ways. Sauce Gardner did hold MVS. I mean, he grabbed him around the shoulder. He held him. Was they calling that all day? Maybe not, but they called it there. I mean, you can't complain. That's the rules. You held, you get a flag called on you. So I mean, there's a lot of you can say whatever about the officiating. Officiating's always been bad. It's nothing new. Um, so it is what it is. Kansas City came out with the win. Like I said, the defense looks really good. Um, there's some things we can clean up in the secondary. I think our front seven did fantastic with Nick Bolton being out. Leo Chanel had a very good game. Drew Tranquil made some big tackles. So we'll see what goes on through the course of the season. Um, but you had Khalil Mack with 6 tackles, man. 6 sacks, man. Khalil Mack looking like the old Khalil Mack. That's the Khalil Mack we've been wanting to show. Because when Khalil Mack is in that mode, when Khalil Mack was in his prime, he was the best. You could say him, JJ, Aaron Donald. But when Khalil Mack was in his prime, he was considered the best defensive player in the league. When prime Khalil Mack, when he was with the Raiders and early Bears, when he went to the Bears too, oh my goodness, Khalil Mack was insane. So Khalil Mack, what a game for him. Speaking of Bears, man, I don't know what's going on in Chicago. I really don't. You have a guy in Justin Fields that's a pure athlete, and he looked spectacular. Like he looked really really good in the first half, and then I don't know what happened in the second half. This is Matt Eberflus was a defensive coordinator, and his team. I seen this stat. They said this on ESPN on First Take early, I believe. Matt Eberflus was a defensive coordinator before he came to the Chicago Bears head coach. The Chicago Bears has lost 14 straight games dating back to last December, and every team has scored at least 25 points in those 14 straight losses. If you are a defensive-minded coach, how is your defense, let alone allowing 21 points basically in the fourth quarter and allow 25 points in 14 straight games? Granted, the secondary was banged up a little bit, but I mean, you had them 28-7 going into the fourth. Something needs to happen in Chicago. Are they tanking to get Caleb? I'm not sure. I would like to see Justin maybe get traded to somewhere like Atlanta, because Desmond Ridder doesn't seem to be the guy in Atlanta. He has his teammates almost ready to fight him on the sideline. Trade him to Atlanta, trade him to New England. I think Justin Fields needs a fresh start. He needs to go somewhere where they're going to utilize. He needs to go to an offensive-minded coach, someone that's going to utilize him, and someone that's going to use his skill set to their advantage instead of just sprinkling some things in. So Chicago. I mean, they might be tanking for Caleb. Because they own the number 1, 2 picks right now. You have Carolina's pick, who I feel like Carolina is there but not there. I feel like Carolina is always in games but can never finish or never hit that comeback. Bryce Young, number 1 pick, he looks like the number 2 pick because C.J. Stroud is lighting it up. 151 pass attempts with no interceptions to start your season is incredible. C.J. Stroud looks like the number 1 pick because he should have been the number 1 pick. C.J. Stroud looks good. That Texans team looks good. With Nico Collins and Tank Dell, John Mechie, Damian Pierce, of course C.J. Stroud. Defense looked pretty decent. So it's going to be that division might come down to Jacksonville and the Texans because I don't think the Colts are really doing anything. Titans had a pretty good game against the Bengals, but the Bengals don't look like the Bengals. Joe Burrow looks like a deer in the headlights out there. Don't know if it's the calf injury, don't know what it is, but it doesn't look like the Bengals of last year. It looks like the Bengals the year before they got Joe Burrow. They look like the Bengals of old. So I mean, it's going to be intriguing to see what happens going forward. Moving on quickly to the NBA. If you didn't know, Dame Lillard is a Buck. Dame Lillard traded to the Milwaukee Bucks from the Trailblazers, paired with Giannis Antetokounmpo. That pick and roll is going to be insane. The Bucks has a closer, and they didn't really give up anything. I mean, he gave up Grayson Allen and a couple of picks. I believe that's it, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, Drew Holiday. We'll get to that. So you give up Drew Holiday and Grayson Allen. You give up some defense. But you get about 10, 12 more points per game coming in. You get a legitimate closer. Can you imagine Giannis coming down the lane with 10 seconds left? Giannis coming down the lane. He goes to the lane. He goes to the hoop. He's being triple teamed. Dishes out to Dame in the corner. Automatic. So the East is getting scary because not only did Dame land in Milwaukee, Drew Holiday is in Boston. They gave up 2 first-round picks, I believe. Malcolm Brogdon and Robert Williams. I think you could have gave up Al Horford and kept Robert Williams. I think that would have been better because there's no really defensive-minded center in Boston now. I mean, Al Horford is up there in age. Kristaps Porzingis doesn't play any defense. He's no rim protector. But offensively, wow, the floor spacing on that team is going to be insane because Drew Holiday can knock down some shots. Al Horford can knock down shots. Porzingis can knock down big shots. And, of course, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So you're looking at a potential lineup of Drew, JT, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, and Al Horford. That's a tall lineup, and 2, but the floor spacing on that lineup is crazy. So that's going to be interesting to see. I think Drew Holiday, wherever he landed, was going to make that team a top contender, and I think the 2 top contenders right now, obviously, is before this trade happened, it was the Bucks and the Celtics. Sixers are there, but not there because of the whole situation with James Harden. See how that goes. And then I still think the Lakers are the best team in the NBA just because the moves that they made, getting Cam Reddish, getting Jackson. You got some depth. The Lakers got depth. Cam Reddish, Jackson Haynes, Christian Wood, Tayshaun Prince. I mean, Lakers got depth. I would say maybe Lakers, Celtics in the finals this year. That's what I'm thinking. Lakers, Celtics. So that's I like that. And finally, new AP poll. Now, this year in college football is an interesting year because to me, there's no top dominant. There's no number one team in college football this year. There's not that number one for sure going to make it team in college football. But the new AP poll came out. Georgia's still at number 1. Okay. Michigan, Texas, Ohio State, Florida State, Penn State, Washington, Oregon, USC, and Notre Dame rounds out the top 10. this year's probably the first year in a while to where we say we don't know who's going to win the national title. We don't know who's going to be in the playoffs because looking at all these teams, you can easily say one of these teams can lose a game or two at any time during the course of the season. You know, Georgia has the easiest road, but they haven't looked the best. They haven't looked like the number one team. They have Kentucky next week. They have Kentucky on Saturday. Have Missouri undefeated 21. They have Ole Miss. They just beat LSU, and then they have Tennessee with Joe Milton. So I mean Georgia can easily lose two of those games. Um, so I would have it if it was me. If I was ranking these teams, if I was ranking at least the top five teams, I would have Texas at number one because they have the best win in all of college football, beating Alabama at Bama. Um, no matter what Alabama got going on right now, they're still Bama. Texas went to their house and beat them. Number two, I would have Ohio State because they have the second best win in college football, beating Notre Dame at Notre Dame, going into a hostile environment um, with the a quarterback that's has the most starts out of anybody versus a quarterback who just now starting. And so I mean, you go into that hostile environment, and you come out with a victory. Number three, then I will have Michigan at number three. I'll have Michigan at number three. They dominated every team that's on their schedule, and that's the name of the game. The schedule has been pretty weak, and it's going to be weak until they play Penn State and Ohio State. Um, so, and then I will have Florida State at 4. Give me Florida State at 4. You did beat a ranked LSU team. They beat a ranked LSU team. They went to Clemson and beat Clemson in overtime. And then give me Georgia at 5. Georgia really hasn't been the dominant juggernaut like they've been. I mean, you don't have Stetson Bennett anymore. You don't have the elite receiving core that you had. He doesn't have the elite running backs that you had. You don't have the elite defense that you have. I mean, beat UT Martin, Ball State. South Carolina played them good. UAB played them good early, and then Auburn took them to the last minutes of the game. And so, I wanted to put Washington in there, but we'll see how they look against a top 10 opponent in Oregon. So same things for Oregon, USC. Like Washington, Oregon, USC, we have to see how they look against each other because they all play each other pretty soon. So we have to look how that turns out. But I just think Texas and Ohio State have the two best wins in college football so far, beating two top 10 teams on the road at that time. So like I said, I would have Texas, Ohio State, Michigan, Florida State, Georgia. Penn State is there. I would have Penn State at 6 where they're at right now, and then we also see what Texas does with Oklahoma Saturday, the Red River rivalry. Oklahoma is playing out their mind. I think they scored 50 points every game so far this season, which is incredible to think about. 73 against Arkansas State, 28 against I was wrong. So 73 against Arkansas State, 28 against SMU, 66 against Tulsa. They're supposed to do that. 20 against Cincinnati, and then put up 50 against Iowa State. I'm going to take Texas in that game. I think Texas is just a better team than Oklahoma. Oklahoma really haven't been tested so far. I mean, the toughest game was for maybe SMU or Cincinnati. So I mean, you get Texas out there with Quinn Ewers looking lighter and faster and stronger with Xavier Worthy and those guys. And Texas defense is pretty darn good. So I like Texas in that one. But like I said, this year, this is not a for sure. You can't ask somebody and be like, hey, for sure they're gonna win this national title. It's not like the last couple of years where it was Georgia and Alabama. Ohio. It's not like that. This year, I think it's the first year in a while to where we say we don't know who's going to win. So, but that's my time today, guys. Thank you for joining. Thank you for coming back. I'm glad to be back. You'll see me daily, man. God bless. Peace out.